Last night I got the fabric cut out that I need to modify this flag and to make the new flag that replaces this one. And tonight I'm going to pull some threads and get these two panels sized, and then I've got to hem the big one, this one, and put the reinforcing band on, which I already made. And I've got to attach, I'm making a copy of this with new material. And then I'm going to extend it in the sides to make it a rectangular flag. First thing I want to do is just start pulling threads. I washed and dried these because they're getting attached to this large flag up here, and that has been dyed and washed and beaten up, and I hung it out on the clothesline for a few days. And I wanted these to be pre-shrunk so they match up. And instead, when so if I sew them together, then I don't wind up with puckered mess. I don't know if that will prevent it, but I think it might. So I'm just pulling these threads just to get these edges cleaned up so I can square this off. I cut this a little bit bigger than I need it to be, so I've got a little bit to work with. I only need to add about 10 inches to each side of the center panel there to get it to be the properly proportioned rectangle that I want. So here we go. Let's see here. Where's my seam ripper? The indispensable tool for a clumsy tailor. So all I'm doing here is pulling threads to square these pieces up. And actually, this actually looks pretty good right now. I squared two sides last night of each of these, and then when I washed it, it kind of naturally did that in the washing machine. So I think maybe in the future I'll wash them first and let them pull, because this actually did a really good job, and it just saved me probably I don't know, a good amount of work. Let me get my ruler. See how wide this is. Like I said, I need about 10 inches on each side. This is 33, and I forget what the height is exactly, like 46, I think, roughly 46 and a half high. What I want to do is proportion this so it matches, at least closely. These two are the same size. This flag is a special design for a friend of mine who wanted it like this. This is the original, or this is based on the original flag, and what I want to do is transform this into the same proportions as this, with the skull and bones oriented this way. And then when I'm all done constructing and dyeing these, then I'm going to add on the panels, or add on the skulls and bones and all that. But right now I'm just building these out to the right size. Okay. I think I want see. Oh yeah, I've got plenty here. So I'm just going to pull one side, and I'm going to leave the ends long. So let me do one side, and then say the top or the bottom, and then I can get it fixed up like that. So I'm just going to make sure one side is clean and trimmed, and that'll be the side that I attach to the center panel. This one is really, that one's really good. I'll do that one. So this will be the side we attach. And howdy. Okay. I'm just going to trim off, adjust the camera to cover the lens so you don't get seasick. Hopefully. Adjust it up a bit. So I'm just going to trim this down so it's easy to sew. Nice crisp square edge. You know what? I think I have one more I can pull here. Yep. you do this, then you get a nice, you get one thread all the way across, and you have a roughly straight edge. And I just trim off the fringe, and I've got a nice, nice edge on it. And then it makes it a lot easier to sew two pieces together. Oh, and let's get something to listen to. How about that? General History of the Pirates, which I have a hard copy of right here. One of the greatest books in the English language as far as I'm concerned, and published initially in 1724, so it's 300 years old this year. And I've been listening to the LibriVox recordings of it on YouTube, and providing commentary and reaction. General History of the Pirates. So even if it wasn't in the public domain, which it is, I think that goes a long way toward justifying it as fair use. Let's see.
Introducing guest favorites.
I'm not going to introduce guest favorites. I don't care. Thank you. I don't need that. So we'll get started here as soon as I get this loaded up. I'll probably trim this whole introduction, getting set stuff out. 10 minutes of me just goofing off and not talking or not working. So in the final version of the video, Ben, it broke already. What broke? What broke? Good to see you, man. How are you? The flag wall, how'd you ruin it? Ah, great. I'm glad you asked. Let me show you. Okay, so I'm going to cover this just so you don't get seasick. How about that? Okay, so when I designed the flag, this is what I had in mind. Not quite like this, but just a step below the crisp, clean, really nice flag I had. But I wanted a little bit of weather on it. I had them done. I was ready to ship it out, and I was super happy with it. But I thought, I planned to do this extra step to it and dye it just a little bit and just give it a little bit of weather so it looked like it had been out at sea for 5 years or so. And so I threw it in the dye bath with a little tiny amount of brown dye. And I went through the process and took it out, and it had turned all the skulls and bones pink. So I panicked, and then I stopped panicking, and I got online and I started doing some research, and I was like, I was reading a whole bunch of how-to websites on how to solve that kind of problem, and then I went to the Rit Dye website, and they talked about it, and some other places. And what I ended up doing was I got a coffee can with water and then a little bit of bleach and a paintbrush, and so I went to the bathtub and I painted this bleach solution on the skulls and bones, and that helped. It took a lot of the pink out. The pink I don't think is going to show up because my camera's not very good. But in real life here, these are still slightly pink. And then when I rinsed it, you can see what it did. It really, really grayed it out. So I took it outside. And I looked at it in here, like here at night, it looks okay to me. It looks like a weathered, worn flag, and it looks cool. But then out in the bright sunlight, it looked kind of, it didn't look very good. Because there's no contrast to it. So it didn't look like a black flag, which is the whole point of a pirate flag, is, it's got to be visible from a long way off or nobody gets scared by it. So I'll bring up these two movies. So let me pause this for a moment. I'll show you my screen in a second. So this is what it looked like. Is this the, yeah, that's the, All right. Let me get the first one first. Okay. So we have, let's see, display capture, right? Let's bring that up to, I'll just move my camera down into the corner. How about that? Okay, so here's the first one. This is what they looked like initially. You know, looks like a black flag, and you can see it from a quarter mile away and know that the pirates are coming, which is the point of a pirate flag. So they looked really cool, I thought. And then this is what they looked like when I hung them outside. Just so faded that when you stand, I should have shot this from a distance, but you know, they're so faded that you can't really see. You know, it just doesn't do the job. So this one, which is the one that I'm sending out to my friend, I'm remaking completely from scratch, and I'm going to make it just like the originals. These three, I'm going to, I've taken off all the skulls and bones. I'm going to extend this one to make it a rectangle, so it's proportioned like these, only, you know, so it's just a bigger version of those. And then I'm going to bleach these skulls and bones out, and if that doesn't work, then I'm just going to remake them, because I have all my templates and I've got all the materials I need to do it. So I'm either going to remake them, or hopefully I can salvage these and then put them all back together, and that's what I'm doing now. Yeah, right. Yes, this was the French flag. Yeah, and that's kind of why I'm doing the stream. You know, a lot of times, you know, if you'll file a project up, but I figured somebody might benefit from seeing how you rescue a wrecked project. You know, because a lot of the stuff I've done over the years works great. And, you know, it's just fine, and there aren't any problems. But you know, you do enough things, whether it's, you know, home restoration stuff or construction or art or this kind of stuff. You know, you're eventually, you do enough things, you're going to foul something up, or it's going to break, you know, whether you had anything to do with it or not. So I figure it might be useful to make a video about that. So I'm going to do it here on the live streams and hopefully have some fun while we're doing that. And then I'm going to take the live stream videos, I'm going to just chop them down to, I don't know, like 5 or 10 minutes total, and sort of a how-to on what do you do when you ruin a good project like I did. So. Final job. Yeah, and I'm kind of hoping for this. Like these, if these were just darker, I'd be happy with them. I don't mind the spots and the it's got, every part of this is cool except the pink in the bones and skulls, and the fact that it's not dark enough. If I had been able to figure out how to re-dye these without turning the skulls and bones black, I'd have just done that. But they do have that warm. I wanted them a little bit warm. Not, I wanted them like 10% of what I got, you know, 5 or 10%. So, but you know, it goes with the territory of making stuff. Let me see if I can get this general history of the pirates going. I don't know if you were on when I held the book up, but I've been listening to this general history of the pirates. It's one of my favorite books. You know, it's published in 1724, so it's 300 years old now. And there's a version on YouTube with different people reading the chapters. So I've been listening to that while I work. No, you can't see that on the screen, but you can take my word for it. It's the same story.
Largest ship making up to us with all diligence, being still within a cable's length of us, often giving us a broadside.
Oh yeah,
In the
it's
hopes
awesome.
of Captain
Yeah,
Kirby's coming to our assistance, we endeavored to run ashore,
See.
and though we drew 4 foot water more
I
than
should get it.
the pirate, it pleased God that he struck fast on a higher ground than we happily fell in with.
How's that?
So was disappointed a
There you
second
go.
time
Manuel
for
Schoenhorn.
boarding us.
Manuel Schoenhorn.
Here we had a more violent engagement than before. All my officers and most of my men behaved with unexpected courage, and as we had a considerable advantage by having a broadside to his bow, we did him great damage. So that had Captain Kirby come in
Right
then,
now I'm just,
I believe we should have taken both.
pause this for a
For
minute. Right now I'm just trimming up the sides here. Got my own projects to do. Yeah, well, thanks. Glad you dropped by, man. What are you working on? Are you down south or way down south? Ah, cool. All right. Remember, only you can prevent forest fires. So I'll see you later. Thank you for dropping in, man. Good talking with you. I'll probably be streaming this every day until I get these done. So, did you get a notification from YouTube that I was live? Yeah, GG. Oh, cool. Well, that's good. So it's showing it to people who. That's a really good sign. Awesome.
We had one of them sure, but the other pirate, who was still firing at us, seeing the Greenwich did not offer to assist us, he supplied his consort with 3 boatfuls of fresh men. About 5 in the evening, the Greenwich stood clear away to sea, leaving us struggling hard for life in the very jaws of death, which the other pirate that was afloat, seeing, got a warp out and was hauling under our stern. By which time many of my men being killed and wounded, and no hopes left from being all murdered by enraged barbarous conquerors, I ordered all that could to get into the longboat under the cover of the smoke of our guns, so that with what some did in boats and others by swimming, most of us that were able got ashore by 7 o'clock. When the pirates came aboard, they cut 3 of our wounded men to pieces.
Jeez.
I, with a few of my people, made what haste I could to the Kingstown, 25 miles from us, where I arrived next day, almost dead with fatigue and loss of blood, having been sorely wounded in the head by a musket ball. At this town, I heard that the pirates had offered $10,000 to the country people to bring me in, which many of them would have accepted. Only they knew the king and all his chief people were in my interest. Meantime, I caused a report to be spread that I was dead of my wounds, which much abated their fury. About 10 days after, being pretty well recovered, and hoping the malice of our enemies was nigh over, I began to consider the dismal condition we were reduced to, being in a place where we had no hopes of getting a passage home, all of us in a manner naked, not having had time to get another shirt or a pair of shoes. Having obtained leave to go on board the pirates and a promise of safety, several of the chief of them knew me, and some of them had sailed with me, which I found of great advantage, because notwithstanding their promise, some of them would have cut me, and all that would not enter with them to pieces, had it not been for the chief captain, Edward England, and some others I knew. They talked of burning one of their ships, which we had so entirely disabled, as to be no further useful to them, and to lift the Cassandra in her room. But in the end, I managed my task.
I'm just trimming up these
that they made me a present
pieces of fabric
the
right
said
now. I'm going to be
shattered
extending this larger flag into a larger rectangle. Let me move the camera. I didn't realize you couldn't see the work, but
bales of the company's cloth.
I'm turning this vertically oriented rectangle into a horizontally oriented rectangle by adding panels on each side of it. So I'm trimming it up now so it'll be squared when I sew them on.
Do the like on the 8th, together with 43 of my ship's crew, including 2 passengers and 12 soldiers, having but 5 tons of water aboard. And after a passage of 48 days, I arrived here, October 26th, almost naked and starving, having been reduced to a pint of water a day, and almost in despair of ever seeing land, by reason of the calms we met with between the coast of Arabia and Malabar. We had in all 13 men killed and 24 wounded, and were told that we had destroyed about 90 or 100 of the pirates. When they left us, they were about 300
I
whites
only need
and 80
about 10 or
blacks
12
on both
inches on
ships.
each of these
I am
to extend
persuaded,
these to the right
had our
proportion.
comfort
So
of
I'm
Greenwich done his duty,
just doing 2
we had
sides of
destroyed
each,
both
one
of
top
them,
and one
and
side.
got 200,000
And
pounds
I'll
for
get
his
the
owners
height all
themselves.
done.
Whereas to his
stitch them
deserting
on,
us,
then I know
the loss
exactly how
of the
long.
Cassandra may justly be imputed. I have delivered all the bales that were given to me into the company's warehouse, for which the governor and council have ordered me a reward. Our governor, Mr. Boone, who is extremely kind and civil to me, has ordered me home with his packet. But Captain Harvey, who had a prior promise, being come in with the fleet, goes in my room. The governor has promised me a country voyage to help make me up my losses, and would have me stay to go home with him next year. Captain Macra certainly run a great hazard in going aboard the pirate, and began quickly to repent his credulity. For though they had promised that no injury should be done to his person,
What do you
he
think?
found
They're
their
pirates.
words were not to be trusted, and it
You
may be
think?
supposed that nothing but the desperate circumstances Captain Macra imagined himself to be in could have prevailed upon him to fling himself and company into their hands, perhaps not knowing how firmly the natives of the island were attached to the English nation. For about 20 years ago, Captain Cornwall, Commodore of an English squadron, assisted them against another island called Mohila, for which they have ever since communicated all the grateful offices in their power, insomuch that it became a proverb that an Englishman and a Joanna man were all one. England was inclined to favor Captain Macra, but he was so free to let him know that his interest was declining amongst them, and that the pirates were so provoked at the resistance he had made against them that he was afraid he should hardly be able to protect him. He therefore advised him to sooth up and manage the temper of Captain Taylor, a fellow of a most barbarous nature, who was become a great favorite amongst them, for no other reason than because he was a greater brute than the rest. Macra did what he could to soften this beast, and plied him with warm punch, notwithstanding which they were in a tumult whether they should make an end to him or no. When an accident happened which turned to the favor of the poor captain. A fellow with a terrible pair of whiskers and a wooden leg, being struck around with pistols, like the man in an almanac with darts, comes swearing and vaporing upon the quarterdeck, and asks in a damning manner which was Captain Macra. The captain expected no less than that this fellow would be his executioner. But when he came near him, he took him by the hand, swearing, damn him, he was glad to see him, and show me the man, says he, that offers to hurt Captain Macra, for I'll stand by him. And so with many oaths he told him
that's lucky.
he was an honest fellow, and they had formerly sailed with him. This put an end to the dispute, and Captain Taylor was so mellowed with the punch that he consented that the old pirate ship and so many bales of cloth should be given to Captain Macra, and so he fell asleep. England advised Captain Macra to get off with all expedition, lest when the beast should awake, he might repent his generosity, which advice was followed by the captain. England, having sided so much to Captain Mackra's interest, was a means of making him many enemies among the crew, they thinking such good usage inconsistent
Right.
with their polity, because it looked like procuring favor at the aggravation of their crimes. Therefore, upon imagination or report
So I'm just
that
pulling
Captain
threads here to
Mackra
square
was
this up.
fitting
I
out
think I
against
said
them
that earlier.
with the company's force, he was soon abdicated or pulled out of his
That's the last
government
stage of it.
and marooned with 3 more on the island of Mauritius, an island indeed not to be complained of. Had they accumulated any wealth by their villainies, that would have afforded some future comfortable prospect, for it abounds with fish, deer, hogs, and other flesh. Sir Thomas Herbert says, the shores with coral and ambergris, but I believe the Dutch had not deserted it, had there been much of these commodities to have been found. It was in 1722 resettled by the French, who have a fort at another neighboring island called Don Mascarene, and are touched at for water, wood, and refreshments by French ships bound to or for India, as St. Helena and Cape Bon Esperance are by us and the Dutch. From this place, Captain England and his companions, having made a little boat of staves and old pieces of deal left there, went over to Madagascar, where they subsist at present on the charity of some of their brethren, who had made better provisions for
So that's think about
themselves
how to do
than they
this.
had done. The pirates detained some officers and men belonging to
I
Captain
think what I
Mackra,
wanna do.
and having repaired the damages received in their rigging, they sailed for India. The day before they made land, saw 2 ships to the eastward, who at first sight they took to be English, and ordered one of the prisoners, who had been an officer with Captain Mackra, to tell them the private signals between the company's ships. The captain, swearing he would cut him in pound pieces if he did not do it immediately, but unable, was forced to bear their cruelty till they came up with them, and found they were 2 more ships from Muscat with horses. They brought the captain of them and the merchants on board, torturing them and rifling the ships in order to discover riches, as believing they came from Mocha, but being balked in their expectation, and next morning seeing land, and at the same time the fleet and shore plying to windward, they were puzzled how to dispose of them. To let them go was to discover and ruin the voyage, and it was cruel to sink the men and horses
Somewhere
with the
I
ships,
have a thread.
as many of them were inclined to. Therefore, as a medium, they brought them to anchor, threw all their sails overboard, and cut one of the ship's masts half through. While they lay at anchor, and were all the next day employed in taking out water, one of the after-mentioned fleet bore towards them with English colors, answered with a red ensign from the pirates, but did not speak with one another. At night they left the Muscat ships, weighed with the sea wind, and stood to the northward after this fleet. About 4 next morning, just as they were getting under sail with the land wind, the pirates came amongst them, made no stop, but fired their great and small guns very briskly, till they got through. And as daylight cleared,
Fine
were in
black
great
thread. It's hard to
consternation
see
in
against
their
my black
minds,
floor.
having all along taken them for Angria's fleet. What to do was the point, whether to run or pursue. They were sensible
It's like a
of
cake
their
of beeswax
inferiority
here.
of
They
strength,
use
having no
thread,
more
just
than 300
a light
men
coating of it
in
helps
both
protect
ships,
the
and
thread.
40 of them
So
Negroes besides.
you don't want to use too much on
had
there.
them 4 pumps at work,
A little
and
bit
must
helps.
inevitably been lost, had it not been for some hand pumps and several pair of standards brought out of the Cassandra to relieve and strengthen her. But observing the indifferency of the fleet, chose rather to chase than run, and though the best way to save themselves was to play at bull beggar with the enemy. So they came up with a sea wind, about gunshot to leeward, the great ships of the fleet ahead, and some others astern, which latter they took for fire vessels. And these ahead, gaining from them by cutting away their boats, they could do nothing more than continue their course all night, which they did, and found them next morning out of sight, excepting a catch
You
and
give
some
this
few
thought for a couple
gallivants.
minutes. Figure out the best way to
Small
do
sort of
it. You want
vessels,
to cut that
something like
apart
the Felecas of the Mediterranean,
or use it
and
as it
hoists
is.
like them triangular sails. gallows.
already hemmed this. I had the reinforcing. I'm
They
going to
bore
cut the
down,
reinforcing
which
off.
the catch perceiving, transported her
But I think-
people on board a gallivant, and set fire to her. The others proved too nimble and made
I
off.
think while I have
The
that,
same day they chased another gallivant and took her, being come from Gogo, bound for Calicut with cotton.
I think while I have
Of
that,
these men they
yeah.
inquired concerning the fleet, supposing they must have been in it, and although they protested they had not seen a ship or boat since they left Gogo, and pleaded very earnestly for favor, yet they threw all their cargo overboard, and squeezed their joints in a vice to extort confession. But they, entirely ignorant of who or what this fleet should be, were obliged not only to sustain this torment, but next day, a fresh easterly wind having split the gallant's sails, they put her company
this
into
for a
the
minute.
boat with nothing but a trysail, no provisions, and
I
only
think I'm
4
gonna leave
gallons
this
of
on.
water, half of it salt, and then out of sight of land to shift for themselves. End of chapter 5, part 1.
Well, I'll do this.
Recording by Richard Kilmer, Rio Medina, Texas.
Chapter 5, Part 2 of the General History of the Pirates, Volume 1. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Mike Harris. The General History of the Pirates.
I'll pause this for just a second. I see somebody's here, so I'll show you what I'm about to do. This is I'm going to join 2 pieces of fabric together. This is the finished outside. This is the underside. It's going to be similar to this. I'm going to run a stitch. I'm going to have the fabric like this, and I'll stitch across here, and then I'm going to fold it over and tuck it under, and then stitch it down. So it'll wind up something like that. And then on the outside, it should look something like that. Now this is it's different material. This is heavy linen, twine. This that's the general idea here. I'm just trying to figure out how to do this, and I want to take my time at it. So because once I start, then it's all going to be done that same way, and I don't want to foul it up at the beginning. I don't want to foul it up at all. That's why I'm redoing this project anyway. So I made a mistake with it before.
Trumpet.
Man, all right.
He told them they must
No,
immediately away and
let's do
run
it.
farther to
I'm
the
cutting it.
southward, where they should be supplied with all things
I
they
hate
wanted.
to do it, but I think
Naval
that's the right way.
stores or provisions. They had not been long at anchor again before they had several canoes on
Why do I
board,
hate to do
while
it?
black and
I mean,
white
it's
inhabitants
got to go. It just
continued
doesn't
without
need to be there.
interruption all
I
good
just hate
offices
wasting
during
all
their
that work. Look
stay.
at these beautiful stitches.
Particularly
They're
John
all
Trumpet
going
brought
now.
a large boat of arrack,
But here we go.
than which nothing could be more pleasing, about 90 ledgers, as also 60 bales of sugar, an offering, it's presumed, from the governor and his daughter, who in return had a fine table clock sent him, the plunder of Captain McCraw's ship, and she a large gold watch, earnests of the pay they designed to make. When they had all on
I hate
board,
to do
they
it,
made
but
Mr. Trumpet
you know,
to his
it's the right way
satisfaction.
to do it.
It was computed 6,000 or 7,000 pounds. It gave him good 3 cheers, 11 guns each ship, and throwed ducatoons into his boat by the handfuls, for the boatman to scramble for.
What is a ducatoon?
That night being little wind did not weigh, and Trumpet in the morning
Ducats
waked
and
them to the sight of more arrack,
doubloons,
chests of
but not
piece goods,
ducatoons.
and ready-made clothes, bringing the fiscal of the place
Toons,
also
isn't
with
that
him.
is that
At
Canadian?
noon, while those were on board, saw a sail to the southward, which they weighed and chased after, but she having a good offing, got to the northward of
You
them
got
and
here
anchored a
just in
small
time to see me
distance
cutting
from
this
the
beautiful hem off of
The
my
aforementioned
flag so that I can extend it.
assuring them that they would not be molested in
I hate to
taking
do
her
it,
from under
but
the
it's the
castle,
right way to do it.
solicited beforehand for the buying her, and advised them to stand in, which they did boldly to board her.
The only thing
When
to
they
do
came
is
within
to
a
get
cable's
after it.
length or two of the chase, now near shore, the fort fired 2 small guns, whose shot falling nigh their muzzles, they instantly bore out of the road, made an easy sail to the southward, and anchored at night in their former berth, where John Trumpet, to engage their stay a little longer, informed them that in a few days a very rich ship was to pass by, commanded by the general of Bombay's brother. This governor is an emblem of foreign power. What inconvenience and injury must the master's subjects sustain under one who can truckle to such treacherous and base
All right.
means as corresponding and trading
Dead
with
hand.
pirates to enrich himself?
Darn it. But
Certainly
that's
such
the
a
way.
man will stickle at no injustice to repair or make a fortune. He has
I
the
have a
argumentum
fresh raw edge.
always in his hands, and can convince when he pleases in half the time of
Pull
other
threads here
arguments
just to square it off.
that fraud and oppression is law, that he employs instruments in such dirty work, expresses the guilt and shame,
Any
but no
questions
way
or comments,
mitigates
or
the
you want
crime.
to talk about history or anything else?
John Trumpet was the
Drop a
tool,
comment in the
but
chat. and I'll be
as the
happy to
dog said in
converse
the
with you.
fable on another occasion,
This is
what is done by the master's orders is the
my
master's
show's prep for
action.
this live stream.
I
Always
cannot but
consists
reflect
of
on this occasion what a
getting
vile
my needle and
government
thread
Sancho
and
Pancho had of
whatever
it.
else I'm working on.
Yet
ready.
not only such perquisites
And the
rescinded,
chat
but was
determines what
really
we talk
almost
about.
starved. The victuals taken
I'm
from
glad
him
you're here.
almost every day, and only under a pretense of preserving His Excellency's health. But governments differ.
All right.
From Cochin, some were for proceeding to Madagascar
I'm just pulling
directly,
threads here
others
just to
thought
square
it
this
proper
edge
to
up
cruise
so
till
I
they
have a
got a
nice clean
store
edge
ship.
to attach to
And
this
these
other
being
piece
the
of
majority,
material.
they plied to the southward, and after some days saw a ship inshore, which being to windward of them, they could not get nigh, till the sea wind and night favoring, they separated, one to the northward, the other to the southward, thinking to enclose her between. But to their astonishment, and contrary to expectation, when day broke, instead of the chase, found themselves very near 5 sail of tall ships, who, immediately making a signal for the pirates to bear down, put them in the utmost confusion, particularly Taylor's ship, because their consort was at a distance from them, at least 3 leagues to the southward. They stood to one another and joined, and then together made the best of their way from the fleet, whom they
Okay.
judged to be commanded by Captain McCraw,
Let's trim this down.
of whose courage, having experienced, they were glad to shun any further taste of. In 3 hours' chase, none of the fleet gaining upon them excepting one grab, their dejected countenances cleared up again, the more in that a calm succeeded for the remainder of that day, and in the night, with the land wind, they ran directly offshore, and found, next day, to their great consolation, that they had lost sight of all the fleet. This danger escaped, they proposed to spend Christmas, the Christmas of 1720, in carousing and forgetfulness, and kept it for 3 days in a wanton and riotous way, not only eating, but wasting their fresh provisions in so wretched and inconsiderable a manner, that when they had agreed after this to proceed to Mauritius, they were in that passage at an allowance of a bottle of water per diem, and not above 2 pounds of beef, and a small quantity of rice for 10 men for a day. So that, had it not been for the leaky ship, which once they were about to have quitted and had done, but for a quantity of arrack and sugar she had on board, they, most of them, would have perished. In this condition they arrived at the island of Mauritius about the middle of February, sheathed and refitted the Victory, and on the 5th of April sailed again, leaving this terrible inscription on one of the walls: "Left this place the 5th of April to go to Madagascar for limes, and this least, like lawyers and men of business, any visits should be paid in their absence." However, they did not sail directly for Madagascar, but